Before we start this video, I do want to say this is by no means trying to discredit Jayson Tatum, discredit his accomplishments in the NBA. This man is an all-NBA member. He's an all-star. He's an NBA champion. He's an Olympic gold medalist. By any means necessary, I want to let you guys know this is not me trying to bash Jayson Tatum. But we all know recently Jayson Tatum has been put in conversations that he does not belong in. And I necessarily want to put this video in place to show some of the people that may believe that he's in conversations that I don't think he should be in, why he's not in those conversations. So without further being said, let's get right to the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to At the Buzzer Sports, where we talk all things basketball all the time. My name is John Drummond, and I really want to talk about Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics. As we all know, last night the Boston Celtics went down 0-2 to the New York Knicks after blowing another 20-point lead at home. And before I go any further, I do want to give a big shout out to the New York Knicks with Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Hart. They put this team together to stop the Boston Celtics, and right now it looks like that they couldn't be any smarter. And I really want to give credit to them defensively because OG Anunoby has done a really good job on Jayson Tatum. Mikal Bridges has done a fantastic job just being a roamer, playing passing lanes, using his speed and his foot speed to really contest shots very well. And Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns have been doing better than I gave them credit for to start this series. But we know, even though the entire Boston Celtics team isn't playing well, Jayson Tatum in particular is not playing well. And coming into the playoffs, a lot of conversations around Jayson Tatum's name was if he gets his back-to-back championship, maybe he gets his finals MVP, he's going to have to be in top 3 conversations with guys like Giannis, Nikola Jokic, SGA, or Luka Doncic. And I want to look at the numbers so far that Jayson Tatum has put up in the playoffs. Throughout the 6 games Jayson Tatum has played, he's averaging 27 points per game, 12.5 rebounds, 5 assists on 54% true shooting. Now, before we get any further, I would say that these are pretty good numbers and the splits are not good at all. But if we split his 3-game stretch against the Magic, where he was averaging 36 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and 6 assists per game on 68 true shooting versus the other 3 games in the first game against the Orlando Magic and the 2 games against the New York Knicks, where he's averaging 17 points per game, 15 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game on 38% true shooting. And if we compare that to other forwards around his size and around his same scoring volume, we have guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's averaging 65% true shooting. We also have guys like Kawhi Leonard, who's shooting 63% true shooting. LeBron James, who's shooting 60% true shooting. Pascal Siakam, who's shooting 62% true shooting. So with a guy like Jayson Tatum, who's 6'9" and can put the ball on the floor, and with the disadvantages that the New York Knicks provide, there should be no reason why Jayson Tatum is scoring at the level he is right now. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, why would you compare a guy like Jayson Tatum to guys like Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, and SGA, who have way more responsibility on the offensive end every single night aside of Jayson Tatum? If we constantly look at Nikola Jokic, Giannis, SGA, or Luka Doncic, they are in situations where their offense is heavily predicated on what they do. Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to consistently create rim pressure. We saw when Damian Lillard was out, the Milwaukee Bucks had a top 5 3-point percentage, and they got majority wide open looks by Giannis getting to the paint relentlessly and consistently. Nikola Jokic has constantly put the Denver Nuggets in a position to be the best offense in the league while he's on the floor, being a dominant scorer, playmaker, shooter, and off-ball creator. Luka Doncic takes on the responsibility of being one of the best scorers in the league and playmakers, not being able to send 2 to the ball because Luka Doncic is going to make the best read possible night in and night out. And SGA being the consistent and efficient scorer that he is, scoring from the mid-range, getting downhill, and creating advantages out of 3-on-4 opportunities or 5-on-4 opportunities. And I just truly don't think Jayson Tatum has that responsibility. Now, I'm not saying you have to have that responsibility to be a top-tier player, but what I'm saying is Jayson Tatum's offensive output for the Boston Celtics does not necessarily impact winning as much as everyone else. What I'm trying to say is Jayson Tatum's offensive output does not impact the Boston Celtics versus a SGA for the Thunder, versus a Jokic for the Nuggets, versus a Giannis for the Bucks, versus a Luka for the Lakers. And if we just take a look at his playoff splits like we did earlier, and if we take a look at some of his from last season, it would indicate that he has not touched heights that these other guys have touched in the postseason. And with Jayson Tatum, you can get some really high highs, scoring 51 points in Game 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers. Game 6 versus the Milwaukee Bucks, down 3-2 back in 2022. As a matter of fact, that whole playoff run in 2022. But the lows are extremely low with Jayson Tatum. I would argue he has one of the lowest floors as a scorer out of the top 7 players. When we look at Jokic, Giannis, SGA, Luka, and Tatum, the only person that has a comparable scoring floor is Luka Doncic, and he also adds that A-plus playmaking that Jayson Tatum doesn't provide. And even when we look at Luka Doncic and Jayson Tatum, I think their floors are so low as scorers is because Luka Doncic does not have the athletic skills to get past his defenders consistently, especially over the past season, and you can say a lot of that is due to injury because before that he was getting past his defenders with ease. With Jayson Tatum, I truly believe that it's the shot selection. Jayson Tatum does not take advantage of mismatches to the level of Jokic, Giannis, SGA, or Luka Doncic. And between those tier 1 superstars and Jayson Tatum it seems like he's sticking to the script way more than a superstar would. Late in game situations when the Celtics are either down or up 5, it seems like Jayson Tatum is still sticking to the script. Get as much threes as possible, kick out to open 3-point shooters as much as possible, and it just feels like the other superstars don't do that. When it's time for clutch basketball, when the game is close and there's about 3 or 4 minutes remaining, it seems like these superstars find a way to put their team on top, and it just doesn't seem like Jayson Tatum has that level of ability to a guy like Giannis, Jokic, SGA, or Luka. There were multiple possessions in these first 2 games where Jayson Tatum has gotten multiple looks against guys like Jalen Brunson, where he has his back to the basket and he's not taking advantage of that. Jayson Tatum has Karl Anthony Towns on the perimeter and he's not blowing past him. The same thing can be said with Mitchell Robinson. I just don't think that you're going to leave that much on the plate if you have a guy like Luka or the other 4 I mentioned. And we can talk about the defensive improvement and the playmaking improvement that Jayson Tatum has made. In the 2022 finals, we saw that teams would trap Jayson Tatum, they would blitz him, and they would double him, and he really struggled to get those passes out or to find open players. And that was a valid criticism to have for a guy like Jayson Tatum at that time, and he has gotten a lot better at making reads consistently for the Boston Celtics. Even as a defender, being extremely versatile at the level that he is. He has gotten a lot better as a defender, being able to guard 5s and to switch out on the perimeter. That's something that the Boston Celtics used in the finals last year when they had Jayson Tatum guarding Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively. Him being able to take away the lob and also be able to switch on to Luka Doncic. That's extremely valuable. But I just don't think his playmaking is to the level of a Luka or a Jokic to where if it's not going offensively, he'll be able to carry a team to victory with his playmaking. And this is the part where I want to talk about he's really improved as a playmaker, but some people compare Jayson Tatum to where he was a few years ago to where he is now, and they use his level of improvement to rank him as a playmaker. So he's improved so much as a playmaker, but then we compare him to and say he's one of the best playmakers in the league. I don't think that's true. And I think a lot of this has to do with the front office of the Boston Celtics putting the perfect team around Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They have manufactured one of the best 3-point shooting teams basketball has ever seen. And they've manufactured a team that can always have spacing around Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, making these reads easier for them, making these passes easier for them, making driving lanes way more available for them. They are able to manufacture really good looks because there are 4 other shooters around them at every single point of the game. So they will have one-on-one opportunities a lot more. They'll have simple reads, kickouts to the corner, passes to a cutter, dump offs to a player in the dunker spot. Those looks are a lot easier when you have the spacing that the Boston Celtics have. And this is me saying Jayson Tatum is not a tier 1 superstar. That's okay. That's okay. I've also heard Jayson Tatum was going to be the best in the world. He will never be the best player in the world. And that's okay. Jayson Tatum will never be better than Jokic, Giannis, or SGA, or Luka, barring injury. I just don't believe that. If Luka Doncic is fully healthy, I don't think Jayson Tatum is going to be better than him. And I also think there is top-tier young talent like Anthony Edwards and Victor Wembanyama that could realistically pass him by the end of the season. By the end of next season. I did not mean by the end of this season. Jayson Tatum is one of the most versatile players in the NBA. He is a top 7 at worst player in the NBA, and he has probably the best roster construction around him that a player can ask for that perfectly tends to his weaknesses. And there is nothing wrong with that. Nobody is taxing Jayson Tatum for not being the best player in the world. It's when I go on Twitter or when I go on YouTube or when I go on TikTok and I hear people say Jayson Tatum's in a conversation with SGA, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. No, he is not. There is nothing wrong with Jayson Tatum being a top 7 player in the NBA and capitalizing on having a fantastic roster built around him and a roster that fits every single weakness he has at the game of basketball. That's fine. So when Jayson Tatum has a bad scoring night, you have guys like Derek White who can knock down 7 or 8 threes and pick up that load. A guy like Kristaps Porzingis who can manufacture mismatches at the blink of an eye and carry that load. Jaylen Brown who could be a fantastic mismatch attacker and isolation player and carry that load. Drew Holiday who can take on the best guard matchup every single night and carry a load defensively. There's nothing wrong with him being a top 7 player and benefiting of having a really good front office. So when I hear people say Jayson Tatum's a top 3 player in the NBA and we have performances like this, where do we go and say that, or where do we go and say that what he did on the floor shows that he's a top 3 player? And I know he's rebounding and I know he's playmaking and I know he's playing defense, but he's not doing that to the level that you would think for it to excuse the bad scoring that he has. And we've seen over the last 2 to 3 playoff runs, when the floor is low, it is extremely low. And the Boston Celtics built a team around him to where if it gets to that point, they can still go and win a championship. Look at what happened last year. They added the spacing and the defense to where he does not have to be relied on way too much as an offensive player or as a defensive player, and they can still go win. Like I said, the spacing that Boston has makes these reads way more easier than you would think they are. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at @TheBuzzerSports. Make sure you follow me on TikTok at @TheBuzzerSports. Follow me on Twitter at ATBSports1. And make sure you guys check out my playback room at @TheBuzzerSports. We are going to be watching historic games all offseason and breaking down some rumors that we have heard on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. And with all that being said, thank you guys for watching this video again, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.